Nice to see you as well, Steve. Certainly, the Israeli attacks over the last several days have been targeting the headquarters of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps, the Basij. These are the shock troops that prevent the Iranian people from rising up against their regime, which is heavily unpopular inside Iran and has been heavily embarrassed by Israeli and now American strikes. And so while the president is not specifically targeting the regime, what he's doing is he's indicating to the Iranian people that he doesn't necessarily support this regime any longer. And coupled with the Israeli strikes, I think they're trying to create the conditions where the opposition will potentially rise up and do the dirty work of the regime change on their own.
Yeah, and what do you think? They are at the weekend. I mean, the consensus is, Alex, that the regime in Tehran is at its weakest point in 46 years, ever since 1979 and the Islamic Revolution. It seems that it is at its weakest point. They certainly, after that devastating strike on its nuclear facilities and this feeble response, I don't know how else you describe the response other than feeble. They had to do something, but this is weak.
I certainly don't think that sending ballistic missiles anywhere is an act of theater. You know, it's not that feeble. Sending ballistic missiles is extraordinarily dangerous, and I think that the Qataris and the Americans are lucky that none of these struck down, because any ballistic missile can do significant damage. So I think that has to be put into perspective, though I don't necessarily know that the president wants to up the ante and continue to get involved when, like you said, Iran is very weak, and, you know, the groundwork has been laid for the Iranian people to rise up against this regime. If you'll remember back to 2009, the Iranians started to protest against the regime. This was the Green Revolution. It was the murder of Neda Aga Sultan that brought people out into the streets. But President Obama put his support firmly behind this Islamic Republic, and therefore they had the strength to stay in power. Rather, in 1978, we saw Jimmy Carter, you know, take his blessings away from the Shah, and that gave the Iranian opposition the opportunity or the trigger that they needed to go overthrow the regime. So the hope is here that this is what's happening now.
Yeah, regime change in 1978 didn't go so well, Alex. It didn't go so well at all, and maybe sometimes we should just stay home and not meddle in other people's politics. It's just a thought. 46 years of this country supplying the financial means for the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and a host of others. The Beirut bombing in 1983, and the list just goes on for this regime in Tehran. It's not in America's best interest to play regime change, but it is best to encourage it, I believe. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, I think it's important for America to show that it stands by its allies that are pro-American, and this is where I think American foreign policy over the years, from the Carter administration through the Obama administration, the Biden administration, they take away support from pro-American leaders, and they put the support behind the Muslim Brotherhood, behind the Islamic Republic in Iran. You know, you hear Americans, you know, trying to take support away from Prime Minister Netanyahu. There's not one leader in the world that loves or cares about America as deeply as Prime Minister Netanyahu and as much as the Israeli people. So it should be very simple. Support your allies, oppose your enemies, and then hopefully you'll get a better solution.